All right, so I'm gonna welcome everybody to our conversation with Leronda and Erin, and just tell you that your default may be mute. So if you want to ask a question, either Kim can take you off mute, or you can type it in the chat box, and I'll try to pay attention to what's going on in the chat box. I'm going to introduce myself first and talk about the Matriots for just a minute, and then introduce Erin and Leronda and start the Q&A. So think of your questions and throw them in the chat or on the Facebook live feed, and we will get to them. So the Matriots are a PAC with one mission, and that is to elect more women to public office in Ohio, who will promote an economy in which women can thrive and prosper. Our central belief is when women lead, Ohio prospers. And we know from our founders' exhaustive research after going to the Women's March in 2017 that women often don't run for office because they're underfunded and they don't have access to the kind of funding they need. And so our work is to endorse and support women financially for campaigns with money, networking, encouragement, connections. And if you haven't joined us yet, we would love for you to go to matriotsohio.com and join. And I know that at least one of us will put that address in the chat box before the end of the meeting. So I'll start by introducing both of these women who I was fortunate enough to be on the endorsement interview for. Oh wait, I wasn't on yours, was I, Erin? You were just at my house for Nick for something else. All right, Rhonda Jackson is running for District 40, and I'm just gonna say that to say that a district in Ohio is gerrymandered is redundant. So she has north and west of Dayton, mostly Montgomery County, right? North. And she's a first-time candidate because she says she can, quote, no longer be a spectator. I think that's where a lot of us are. She's driven to repair the disconnect that she sees between voters' houses and the state house. She's a mom, a grandmother. She owns LFL Insurance Agency, which has given her 20 years of business leadership experience. Her campaign focus is increasing women's access to career advancement, pay equity, and a livable wage. And Erin's life work has been in sales, marketing, civil service, and as an entrepreneur. And that has all prepared her to be a bipartisan problem solver, negotiator, community leader. She's been involved in her community as a Claremont 2020 leadership graduate, an OSU certified public manager, a founding member of Cincinnati East Side Rotary, and a graduate of Miami Township's Citizen Police Academy. Erin's determination and commitment to women will definitely serve her well in the House, and she has a plan of action to hit the ground running in the State House, prioritizing the well-being of women and their families. It looks like we may have oh no, that's our Join the PAC in the chat. So I'll ask the first question for both of you. To tell us about your why you decided to run. This is why I enjoy being on the endorsement committee so much, as I get to hear this. We'll go in district order first. So Leronda.
Okay. Thank you for tonight's opportunity. And to all the ladies who are watching, thank you for joining. And my why started out of probably frustration, just not liking what I was seeing. And I thought, what's the best way to help? Is it on the ground, asking people to register to vote, making sure that they know the issues? So after doing all of those things and just trying to make sure that people understood all of the particular rules with the voting and doing it right, that just didn't seem like quite enough. So I decided that I would run for the Ohio House seat, because and the disconnect that I talk about, if I put it in one word, the disconnect for me would be indifference. I don't see care and concern. I don't see real passion to help people from some of the current legislators. So I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I'm one of those why sit on the sideline? Let's run for office. Let's be a true agent for change. And that's why I'm running.
Awesome. Erin?
Well, for me, this question it's got a two-part answer. 2016 was a challenging year, as I'm sure it was for everybody. But for me in particular, there were two life-altering events that made me decide to run for state representative. And the first one, it brings me great shame. And I do feel that I made a horrible mistake. As an entrepreneur, I was tired of lifetime politicians running our country and felt that it was time to vote for somebody that might represent a successful business person. So I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this from here. I voted for Trump. And I must tell you, I have regretted that decision each and every day since. The second life-changing event in 2016 happened pretty much simultaneously as the first part of my answer. Just a few months after opening my small business, I was diagnosed with lung cancer. So these two things combined, I'm battling for my life and taking time out to concentrate on health. I was afforded an opportunity to reflect and reevaluate my priorities. And the result of my guilt and life-altering medical hardship was a decision to focus all my energy, experience, and time to work for positive change for people in my district and the state of Ohio. So really, it's the culmination of these two life-changing events that motivated me to run for state representative. And there's nothing like mortality staring you in the face to make you realize what's important.
Absolutely. That's a pretty impressive why.
Yeah.
Can each of you tell us what's going on with your campaign and how I know that having worked on my state reps campaign in 2018, it's so different now that there's no door knocking. As her campaign manager said on Sunday, by this time we'd have knocked like 10,000, 5,000, 6,000 doors, and we're writing postcards and making phone banking. So I know that's been a challenge in every campaign I've talked to or volunteered with. How about the two of you? What's happening in your campaigns?
You want to go first, Erin?
Sure. So when COVID-19 first hit and we all started exercising social distancing, you know, initially I was devastated. I love talking to people. I love shaking hands. But I did quickly realize I had to find a way to work around that. So I took a bunch of classes for like 4 weeks and have adjusted my campaign by beefing up my presence on social media, utilizing a combination of social media, phone calls directly to voters, tons of handwritten postcards. And then every other week I have what's called a kitchen table conversation on Facebook Live. And that's where we'll discuss various issues based on input from the community. And then I also have community kitchen table conversations that highlight a specific community, like I did Springboro. And I invite people from those townships or villages or cities to be part of that conversation. And yes, good old yard signs are out there. So, you know, there's been some tweaking, but I think it's actually turning out pretty well.
Excellent. Leronda?
I would say for me, pretty similar. It was kind of a crushing blow because we know we got to talk to people and persuade them and convince them that we're the right person for the job. And it's tough, even though we're doing it on Facebook and Twitter. I did my first TikTok. Oh my gosh. So, you know, you got to get young voters. So, you know, it's just a matter of revamping everything. I have palm cards everywhere I go. We usually walk in the evenings to walk off some calories and get steps. So I'll just take stuff with me in the event that I can catch people outside. I give them their social distancing and I'll lay it on their car or whatever to make them feel comfortable, and utilizing Facebook. So I was already I'm always on Facebook, honestly. And I would go live all the time about stuff anyway, because I like to talk. So now it's campaign related or not just so much campaign related, like how am I an asset? So I'm not a legislator yet, but let me show you my value even now. So 2 weeks ago on a Saturday morning, we had our first conversation with the candidate with some elementary school teachers. Because, you know, from being on Facebook in March and April and May and seeing all these parents like, oh my God, you know, just having so many challenges with trying to teach at home, I realized that it was tough. And so I reached out, and so the next one will be high school teachers, but I reached out to some elementary school teachers and we did a panel discussion and we did take questions. We had some already formed before time because I knew what it's like to get your child to stay focused and how much rest do they need and what happens when you hit the wall, they hit the wall, you're ready to just throw the computer out the window and those kind of things. So I did that to show that I believe a legislator should be a problem solver. So if you're going to write legislation, if you're going to vote on legislation, is it solving a problem? And is it solving a problem of my voter? So that's one of the things that I had done. And I am going to cover like each item on my platform in a live Zoom like we're doing here. So I've got different experts to discuss the things that I feel are important enough to be on my platform.
Very fun. So a lot of social media, it sounds like. Yeah. Are there questions from folks on the call that I'm not seeing any in chat? Okay. So as you're introducing yourselves to the voters in the district, your respective districts, what do you want people to know about you? If you're introducing yourself, what's the thing you want folks to most know?
I really want people to know that I'm relatable. I might be in one position now, but it doesn't mean my life looked like this 25 years ago. And so I think that the journey that we take, we should have people that we can reach out to when they reach out to us and they know what we've been through because they've been through it. And so, and if you haven't been through it, at least you have some empathy for me as I go through it. So I try to share my story in a way that people go, oh, I've been there and done that. You know, I've been married and divorced. I know what it's like being the single mom. I'm a business owner, so I know what it's like when you got a tax bill due and you need money. So I understand what business owners go through, especially small business owners. I've been a sandwich generation where I was taking care of my mom who had had a massive stroke and my children. And so it's pressure. And I understand that. I've had to have conversations with social workers and nursing home staff when I really don't know exactly what they were even talking about, but you don't have a choice when something catastrophic happens. So I try to take my platform and put myself back into it so people see, oh, she's relatable, she gets it. And because I sell insurance, I know what quality healthcare is. I know how expensive it is. I've delivered the message before we had what we have now, when pre-existing conditions did count against you, and arthritis, you know, was a pre-existing condition that you would be declined. I've had to sit down at the kitchen table and tell a husband and wife, I can write you guys, but I can't write your kid because your kid has asthma. Oh. You know, and a dad say, well, what are we supposed to do? And, you know, it's crushing. So even though something like the Affordable Care Act, as we know it as Obamacare, that may have hurt individual agents, but I'm the type of person, I look at the greater gain. You know, how does this benefit our society as a whole when we give people health care? So of course, maybe I make less money because I'm no longer selling individual plans, but I have a neighbor who couldn't get health care. Right. Or I have someone, you know, men and women paid different prices because of gender, and we always paid more. So to me, it leveled the playing field. So I was willing to take a cut in that area. So I feel like I'm relatable in various ways. And that's
Shirley,
what I always want them to know.
Shirley, I'll get to your question. I did see it. Erin, did you want to talk about how you're introducing what you want voters to hear about you?
Sure. I mean, just like many people, I wear many hats: mother, daughter, sister, friend, and neighbor. And in my work life, I've been in sales and marketing, sales management, a regional manager for the state of Ohio, as well as a small business owner. And one of the reasons I'm running for office, I think we need leaders whose work reflects the interests and the needs of the voters and hardworking people, not corporate PACs. And, I just want folks to know that, I'm running in Warren County against all odds. I'm sure, Leronda, just like you. But the incumbent is running for his third term. He usually wins by huge margins if he's contested at all. He has PAC money that he can easily outspend me 6 times over. So I'm reaching out to the district and people in Ohio and, asking for support to fight this battle. Let's make a difference now. Let's not wait for, redistricting that may or may not actually go through.
You've kind of started on Shirley's question, which was, how are you raising funds? What kind of activities are you each doing to raise funds? I'll let you go first, Erin, because you started on that.
Sure. I mean, for me, it's the old-fashioned stuff. Yeah, you can post Act Blue, you can post that on Facebook or Twitter, but I am finding the most support in building relationships, working the phones, and actually, believe it or not, sending out postcards. I get phone calls from the postcards because they can't do an Act Blue. Who do I make the check payable to? I didn't think I'd get checks from a postcard, but so yeah, and they're coming from Cleveland, downtown Cincinnati. I mean, all over the place. So it's neat to see, and it's old school.
Leronda, how about you?
Well, I'm doing everything I can think of to do. So I am posting my Act Blue link. I figure if a national candidate does it, I'm going to do what they do. So I've given, and now I'm hounded. So I'm like, I think I'll send a text out tonight. I got a text from a candidate that I'm helping, and I'm like, well, let me send that same text. And it was just kind of like, if you could help me get postage, because people need to see where their money is going. They don't understand why so much money. Why is money so much in your message? So I try to explain. I show them what 30,000 envelopes looks like, because I have them sitting here in my campaign headquarter dining room. And so I just ask if you could help me with $8 tonight. And I raised like $1,100 from just $8. Now, some people gave 25 and some people gave more. Some people gave the 8 that I asked for. So, I'm doing that. I'm asking, I had a virtual girls' night out. Like, we had our favorite beverage and our favorite glass with our favorite t-shirt on about women's empowerment. And we each talked about the t-shirt and maybe what that meant. And so it was a great fundraiser. So I think that people understand we can't like have parties and fundraisers and things like that. And so I found that they have given. I tend to know more people that can give me $15 versus $1,500, but that's okay. I just explained those $15 add up. So I do have one idea. I was going to reach out to the ladies I work out with and just say, will you help me with the people that you know? And maybe it's $1 for every jumping jack or plank or something. I just got to make sure I can do it too. I'm trying to think outside the box and be creative in my ask, since all of our events, have been canceled. So like my birthday was July 3rd. So I turned 55. So I asked people for $55, but I asked them in a TikTok video. And one lady said, you know what, just because you did this, I'm going to contribute. So it was hilarious. It was kind of geeky looking. My husband was like, I don't think that looks like a candidate video, because, I was out there working it. So, you got to make it fun. You got to get the ask. You got to make it fun. And so that's what I've been doing.
Excellent. I don't see any more questions, I don't think. You all are both businesswomen and entrepreneurs. What do you, how do you see that perspective bleeding over into how you expect to perform in office? What kinds of legislation you expect to work on in office?
Well, I plan to, as a small business owner, of course, taxes and expenses are a huge issue. But I still believe that business owners can pay a livable wage. So one of the things I'd like to see is the state give something back to that business owner if they pay a livable wage.
Ooh.
So myself personally, when I hire, the first thing I say, I'm not happy as a business owner if I can walk in my refrigerator and get whatever I want out and you can't. It doesn't make me feel good if someone who works for me has to work 2 jobs. That doesn't make me feel good as a business owner. So I try my best to pay a great wage, give great benefits. As a small business owner, it's just me. And in insurance, it's sales. So if you don't sell, you don't eat. There's no base, there's no salary. It's all sales. And it's worked for me. And so I don't believe there's not one person, current or former employee, that would say she was tight, she didn't pay me a fair wage, she owed me, or anything like that. So that is one of the things that I believe in. I believe that the state can do some things to maybe reimburse for a livable wage. They do it with they have an intern program right now with college students. You go through the steps with the state of Ohio. You have to pay a minimum of $15 an hour, and they reimburse you 2/3 of that person's pay. And so it's a good opportunity for you to get a good intern, and it's a good opportunity for them to make good money. So I believe there's money. I'm not saying that it's falling out of the sky, but if we reallocate, but that's the first thing I would do, is reach out to small business owners and get them to pay more than the $8, the $9, the $10, because it's hard to take care of yourself, and if you have children or family, it's just too tough. So that would be one of my first things.
Erin, how about you?
I think having been a small business owner and realizing that some of the things that are in place to quote unquote help small businesses are in actuality only helping the very top businesses. And what I mean by that is Ohio has an LLC loophole that allows 0 taxes up to the first $250,000 and then 3% above and beyond that. So if I'm working at P&G and I make $300,000, I have to pay more in taxes than this quote unquote small business. And I got to tell you, my first 3 years of business, I wasn't making $300,000, nor was the company. So I think there's things like that they were designed to help the small businesses, but at the end of the day, it helps the super wealthy, like the top 1%. And I'd like to see some fixes there.
Mm-hmm.
How about education issues? That was a question in the chat. How are you all thinking about education issues? And
do you mind if I go, Leronda?
Go ahead, sure.
Okay, it kind of on the same line of thought. Ohio has a revenue problem, okay? It's not just the schools. It's not that the local governments don't have money. It's that we have had multiple tax cuts over the course of the last 20 years that have reduced the amount of revenue available for education, for healthcare, for our local governments. And again, what they do is they come to the local communities via levy and increase the local taxes. So we need to fix our bigger problem, which is an upside down taxing system, get that straight, and that will help the schools. So at the rate we're going right now with the funding come from local levies, people are getting tired of that. And then additionally, we're taking away funds via the voucher program. So I think taxes and that will help education.
As a shopper, I think there's some money in sales tax as well. So if a person or a family, let's say they don't have discretionary income, they have just enough for what they need, then I don't think that you tax them more. But if I'm shopping every day and I have plenty discretionary, I'd be willing to pay a 0.5% more, 1% more on my sales tax. And obviously I have it because I used it in that manner. I think that there are some other ways that we can fund our schools. I'm definitely not a fan of anything other than traditional public schools. I'm not saying that they get it right every time, but they don't have the resources. And we all know when you don't have the money, you do the best you can. And doing the best you can and having extra is miles apart. So I really am a fan of our traditional public schools, not you don't like this school and so you want your child to go to private school. And now with the expansion of it, the district doesn't even have to be failing and your child can go to this private school and you have the right to apply for voucher money. I think that is just absolutely ridiculous. So that to me is hurtful. I also believe our teachers need more resources. I don't know that we think outside the box enough. So, you know, there are some community groups that can help with some school issues because everything is not about academics with our children today. They have a lot of challenges. You know, they see a lot of stuff that we didn't see in school. And so there's that outside help that they may need. And I think wraparound services are crucial. You know, when you have a building and the school nurse is only there 1 day a week, but you got to get sick on the right day.
Yeah.
You know? So
Need your ADD meds on the right day. Yeah.
exactly. So I just think that if we could provide the necessary wraparound services, take maybe some money that we spend in prisons and some other areas, and let's take care of our kids. They're our future. So to me, they're the biggest investment that we should be making.
Talk a bit, I'm going to be self-serving as a Matriots board member. Talk a bit about what endorsements like the one from the Matriots mean for your campaign. Leronda, I guess it's your turn to go first.
You know, I was not familiar with the Matriots until the 2016 election, and I had gone to some different events and I was like, oh, what's that? You know, and then I started to look it up, and then different candidates that were endorsed. I was like, wow, she's endorsed by the Matriots. So I just began to look it up. So I got invited to an event. I went, and then I ended up joining because I liked what they were about. So anytime there's a group that says, you know what, we want to see women, we want to help women, we know what you're going through, we know how you feel. So to be endorsed by that same group that I believed in just really made me excited. And what it'll do for my campaign, it adds credibility because anybody who follows you all know the process that you went through, the type of individual that you're looking for, that you feel will do the job in the right way. So I believe it made me an even more credible candidate. And I was super proud. I was so excited.
I can tell you personally, it's expensive to be on the endorsement committee.
Okay.
You see all these fabulous women and feel like, oh, I need to send her some money.
Okay.
Erin, how about you?
So pre-COVID, when I decided to run, I was talking to Nikki Foster, who at the time was running for Congress, and she told me I absolutely needed to meet the Matriots. So I actually, Barbara, did come to your house to a Matriots function, and I followed her direction. I looked up online and learned that I was not alone. I found out that the Matriots' beliefs and goals and everything are very much in alignment with my own. And I think the role of a Matriots endorsement in my campaign is your name, the Matriots, and the strength of the members and the influence that they have in the community, their votes, and hopefully an amplification of my message, the campaign message.
And to that end, Kim just put, Kim Crawford-Swade, our acting ED, just put links to each of your bios on our website in the chat box if people want to click in and learn more about you. I'll tell my fun story about Matriots endorsement. So the first year we endorsed was 2018, and Jessica Miranda, my state rep, was the first person that my friend Myrita Craig, who pulled me into the Matriots and the endorsement committee, and I interviewed for having applied for an endorsement. And I realized she would be my rep. And so I worked on her campaign. And on election night, the shorter version of the story is she won after all the provisionals were counted by 56 votes. Wow. And I got to be one of her observers in the recount, because it's a mandatory recount if it's less than 0.5%. And I showed up at the Hamilton County Board of Elections, and Corey Colombo, who's a well-known election attorney in Columbus, said to me, who was there for the Democratic Party, "How do you know Jessica?" And I said, "Oh, I met her when she applied for Matriots endorsement." And he went, "Oh man, you guys made such a difference this year." I'm like, "Yes, that's us." That was a fun experience to have an election attorney say to me, "The Matriots made a difference in the State House this year." So that's my commercial. Sorry. Oh no, that's the purpose of the call, right? It's the commercial. I think, our slogan is when women lead, Ohio prospers. And our goal is to get 50% of the state and local offices in Ohio filled with women by 2028. So 10 years from the first year that we endorsed. We're at, I don't know what's the number now, Kim. We had 28% of the state house,
yeah,
but that's not all of the.
That's not, and to be honest, we don't have, there's a 2-year lag. This information is not gathered by anyone else. So we have to commission the research from the Secretary of State office site. So, it lags by a couple of years, but we're still only in the, 28% across the state. I mean, just that's not the exact figure. Again,
It's still under 30.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. How else, Erin and Leronda, are you noticing women stepping up with all the crises we have? The coronavirus, the economic downturn, the racial justice issues that are finally being recognized by a broader spectrum of people. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing in terms of what women are doing in the state?
Well, I think that there are more women running. I think more women are helping, maybe behind the scenes. They don't want to run. They don't want to put themselves all the way out there like that, but they are reaching out and they're saying, "What can I do to help? How can I volunteer?" I had one lady, "Can I help register people to vote?" And I said, "Yes." So I think that I think more women are seeing the need and that they can be an integral part in the process. I think that maybe we were scared at one point, or we had some type of fear or hesitancy. Am I smart enough? Do I know enough? Am I tough enough? And I think that we're just doing it. I think that we're just going for it. Even with the racial, just the injustice and the temperature right now in the country, women are speaking out. I've had women reach out to me and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't know, I didn't get it, I heard about it, but I didn't." Just women are they're just moving and we are speaking out. And I think that we finally get it. And we know that we are different and we do lead. We're leading anyway. I mean, we pretty much lead our communities. We lead in our families. We're the first one to speak out and say, "Don't do it like that. You should have done it like this." I was making a little joke. When COVID hit and everybody was filing for unemployment. And it was kind of like, "Here's how you file, go." And the system was crashing and it was just so many problems. And I was telling my husband, I was like, "You know what? If a woman had done that, we would have done it differently. We would have started maybe with people who made the least, because we understand their struggle is harder and their challenges, especially if they have children or a larger size family. And we would have gotten them processed first. It wouldn't have been like, okay, everybody go, and now nobody gets a check for 6 weeks and 8 weeks. And so I just think that we think differently. I think that we pay really good attention to details. And I think that we finally understand we're good enough and we're smart enough. and we bring enough to the table. And I think that that is so exciting. It's just exciting to be a woman right now. I'm thrilled.
That's good.
Yes.
Erin?
What she said. I've noticed a lot of women stepping up, and the way I keep my finger on the pulse of the community, at least in Warren County, there are huge neighborhood Facebook pages, like 4,000 people in one, 3,000 people in another. And you will notice that the leaders in these communities that are, you know, getting food together, clothing together, little other breakout groups are women. So I've seen a lot of that. I think they're running for office, they're leading protests, and they're volunteering.
I neglected to share a question from the group about how we might get additional funding for mental health priorities. We need Sarah Bitter on this call.
Yes, yes, we do.
But have you all thought any about the mental health priorities we need to set, or how we free up funding for that?
Well,
I've got to tell you, me personally, you know, I think we've got so much going on, and right now we've got a budget that they're cutting programs everywhere, education, healthcare, etc. So I think that before I could give a good logic as to how that would happen, I think we kind of need to see how we're going to survive the next 3 to 6 months. I think that our budget, you know, the schools are going to take another round of hits. They've already been told that. And, you know, I just don't know how we can come up with additional dollars. Maybe it's reallocation of dollars, but I think it's going to take some planning.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Leronda, any thoughts on that?
I think, you know, my friends in the healthcare industry might not like this answer, but I feel that if you make money in an area or a community, I'm not saying you pilferage it, but I mean, you're being taken care of. I just think there has to be a give back. And when I say that, I mean, so in the insurance industry, so with mental health and insurance, to me, that is all connected. So in insurance, it's the law of large numbers. You know, we want the healthy people, not the sick people. We want the thin people, not the heavy people. We want to cherry pick. And so they can't cherry pick anymore. And so now they're not happy. So, but they're not all hurting for money. They figured out another way to make it. But I feel that the larger healthcare agencies, the Kaiser Permanentes and the, I really, honestly, in my heart, I believe there should be money taken out of their bottom line, especially if they're maintaining a non-tax status or nonprofit status. I just believe that they should be required to take some of those funds and set it aside for mental health. Because, and for me, I think it has to start with our children. I mean, we see some broken children, angry children. You know, the teachers see it firsthand. When you look at, not to go into another subject, but when you look at children's services and where some children are placed, we've just got to do better. We got to do better.
Amen to that.
And we don't, I don't need to go to a hospital that looks like Caesar's Palace. You know, I don't need chandeliers. I mean, and I'm not trying to be negative, but look how many people and look how much we could be helping in that area of mental health.
Agreed. Kim just posted in the chat a link to our research on the state of women in politics. And I think I'm right in saying we're the first ones to have pulled the data together in this manner.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. We looked when the founders and the original people who were just so upset about the state of women across the nation, but then coming back to Ohio after the march. First of all, they said, well, anecdotally, we believe, you know, we know in our hearts that we are not represented at the tables of power. But what is the state of women in Ohio politics and political office? And it was impossible to find that information. A study was commissioned. We were the first ones to make that study public, you know, to get that information together. We've committed every year when the information is available to updating and recommissioning. So we should have a new kind of an update for this. I'd love to see that number above 29% with that update, because this is really not representative of the last election at all, because that data was not even available from the Secretary of State's office yet. We're still waiting on data. But it's important because once we see that there are almost no sheriffs across Ohio, and if we can get more women into office as sheriffs, we will significantly move the needle in representation in an office that has a lot of impact. You know, county commissioners, a lot of impact. City council members, a lot of impact. It's not just the State House. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I want the State House.
Boards of education.
We want women at every single level of representation, because that's when change will happen, right?
Right. Are there more questions? I don't want to cut off the discussion if there are more questions, but I also don't want to drag out. Erin or Leronda, are there any other points that you want to make before I make a pitch for people to join us in the Matrix and help us endorse more women?
A quick thank you, if I may. Thank you for taking the time out of all of your busy schedules. I know there are so many other things you all could be doing. I love to see women taking the time to learn about running for political office or who's running for political office, and love seeing women supporting other women and helping by being a part of the hive, which to me is, you know, the solution. So thank you all.
Thank you for running.
And I just want to say thank you also. And to the ladies at home or whoever is watching, I just want to encourage you to step out there. Don't always focus on what you can't do, and focus on what you can do. You know, we call it weakness. You know, I read a book, Marcus Buckingham, you know, don't focus on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths and make those even better. And we tend to focus on, oh my gosh, I look great, but my earring, you know, we have totally ignored all of the look great for the one little piece that maybe we wish we could change. And as women, it's our time. We're being heard. We have the attention that we need, but we should capitalize on it and we should move forward. So I just want to encourage all the ladies out here, let's go. And then if you don't want to run for office, it doesn't mean you have to run for office. Get behind somebody who is running and just, how can I support? What can I do? I can't sing, but I can dance. I can't do this, but I can stuff envelopes. That's how we move the needle. But look for other women that you believe want to see you succeed and want your best. That's all I have.
Thank you. I'm guessing your top strength is woo.
It is. Oh my gosh.
Mine too.
It is. Wow. Yes.
Sorry. You said Marcus Buckingham and I just ratcheted to that. So I will bring us to a close unless I see other questions in chat, and I'm not seeing the Facebook Live. So Kim, are you seeing anything there?
No, nothing on Facebook Live right now.
So I'll just once more summarize that the Matriots hope to help 100 women get elected this year, which means we need to raise $1 million. And we'll probably do that in $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 commitments. Although we have a handful of all-in members who are maxing out the max contribution that can be made, which is around $13,600 a year. That has a comma after the 13. It's not a period after the 13. And we have some matriarchs who are giving 10 over a course of 4 years. And a lot of us who are founders at $1,000 a year. We all know that we are the place where the rubber hits the road as women, and we're on the front lines when kids are home from school and we're trying to work at home or make sure they have what they need. And spouses or significant others are off work and working from home. We know we're the default, and we need to be better represented in the halls of power. We need to be taking our folding chairs to the table if we're not invited there. So I would encourage you to look at matriotsohio.com. There's a whole menu of things. You can see all our classes of endorsed candidates. The first 2 years, I think our success rate was around 60% win rate, in that order of magnitude, 59, 58, order of magnitude 60%, and in many cases, what happened was we supported women who made a dent in what had been a huge rout by men who just felt like they had the right to own the district for 4 terms. And Erin's and my and Janet's friend, Nikki Foster, did that in Warren County in District 54 2 years ago. She added, I don't know, 7.5 points to the most a Democrat had ever won, much less a woman. So I'd encourage you to go there and look at what we are doing and join us in our efforts to get more women in the halls of power in Ohio politics.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to end the Facebook live stream at this point.
Okay.
There we are. Facebook Live is over. What a wonderful, wonderful gathering. Thank you so much. I have to tell you, Barb, it's the same for me. I ended up last year individually supporting women like Leronda and Erin, as well as supporting the Matriots PAC, because it is just so inspiring. Women stepping up like this is just the best possible thing. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for tonight.
Thank you.
All right. I'll end the evening. Thank you so much, Barb. Thank you. And have a great night.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.